What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Swizz Sports Show here on StreamYard, presented by StreamYard. And today we're going to be talking about the MLB, talking about the Boston Red Sox, perhaps Rafael Devers getting traded. Perhaps, you know, the Red Sox might be not as good as we thought they were coming into this season. We're also going to be talking about the Texas Rangers and why they should be possibly your favorites to maybe even win the World Series this season. We're also going to be talking about the most hot and cold team in the MLB, the Cincinnati Reds. All that and more when my special guest, Nico Sharp, joins me here on the Swizz Sports Show. And we will be right back right after we run the intro. What's going on, everybody? Here's my guest today, the one and only from Fort Worth, Texas, Mr. Nico Sharp, who is a diehard Texas Rangers fan if I've ever seen one. Nico, how we doing, man?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I'm doing all DFW coverage. If you guys have checked out I'm the Dallas Fort Worth guy. Dallas Cowboys, Stars, Mavericks, Rangers, Longhorns. If you want a DFW coverage, man, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, we're in the heat of baseball season, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of news coming out lately regarding Rafael Devers and stuff like that. But we're going to get into that in a little bit when we get to our Red Sox rundown segment of the show. But perhaps the biggest news of the week was this one right here, Nico. Pete Rose removed from the MLB's banned list. And did they wait too long? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's a super unfortunate situation. It always seems like they do that once somebody passes away, and it just sucks. And I had a feeling this was coming. There was talks of how the Trump administration got involved with that, and I understand it. I understand you removing him from the banned list, but it sucks, man. Pete Rose went all the years and didn't get to see himself go in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of an unfortunate situation. Does he even get in? Even just because you get removed from the list doesn't mean you get automatic, bid in the Hall of Fame. There's a lot of people who still feel very strongly against him, but again, it's kind of an unfortunate situation. They definitely waited too long. He used all his life, didn't get to experience himself going to the Hall of Fame. So either way, it definitely waited too long.
Yeah, and I kind of want to piggyback off what you said because if you look at it like this, right? Pete Rose is known as arguably the greatest hitter of all time. Like stats wise, he is the greatest hitter of all time. But again, they waited to remove him until he passed away. Now, Barry Bonds isn't banned from the MLB, but he has not been voted in. He can't get in on a veterans ballot. He can't get in on the writers ballot. He has to get in via the veterans ballot. And a lot of people think Barry Bonds belongs in the Hall of Fame. I am one of those people. Now, if they don't put Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame, it makes you wonder, are they going to continue this like thing going down the road where are they going to put Pete Rose in after he dies? Like, are they going to do that with Barry Bonds? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of those guys in that steroid era but I think Barry Bonds is a different case where he had a Hall of Fame career both before steroids and after steroids. Understandably, there has to be a penalty, and so he has to serve that penalty. But I just don't like it. Whichever way you believe, either you never allow them in the Hall of Fame, or you don't wait till after someone passes away. After years of just wanting to be in the Hall of Fame, obviously Pete Rose was over it by the end of his lifetime. But you just hate to see that whenever, as soon as a guy passes away, then it's time to, oh man, let's really enjoy what he did for the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was our little talk about the Pete Rose situation. Again, very unfortunate, but glad to see that they unbanned him. I think it was way overdue. But now let's get into my team before we get into your team here. Let's talk about the Red Sox rundown here. Presented by Kim's Cool Creations. You can find her on Facebook. Link will be down in the description below. Nico, this team is very I don't know if I can say exciting to watch because they do give me like anxiety as a baseball fan. Like the pattern I've watched, and I've told my grandma this, and I've told my dad this, and I've told my brother this, and I've also told many other my friends at Dean that play baseball about this. When they're ahead by one run, they're losing the game. That's been the case with them all season. They cannot finish the game. And part of that has been the pitching. Now, I will say they did go out and get some weapons this offseason. They definitely did. And I think arguably, I mean, the biggest weapon they got for the pitching side was who they also just signed to an extension, by the way, 5-year extension. Garrett Crochet. I mean, he has 39 innings pitched right now, 65 strikeouts with a 1.93 ERA. Nico, what do you think? Do you think the Red Sox have found their ace for the future? Because this truly believes that Crochet is the first real ace the Red Sox have had since Chris Sale in his prime.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely their guy, and I think a big number that I look to, especially when it comes to pitchers, is WHIP, and he's a WHIP just above 1. You know, when you're keeping guys off the base pass in every inning, you're getting 3 up, 3 down, not allowing a guy on base. I think that plays a huge factor. And so, yeah, Crochet is definitely that guy, but definitely a guy. If you're saying the future, I think you can't overlook Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler, obviously not going to come off injury, but he's a stud, man. I think he's a guy who's a workhorse. Now, the big thing is that he has to stay healthy, which, again, a lot of arm issues there, and especially with guys who've had a velo jump from his time in Vanderbilt to the Dodgers to the Red Sox. Anytime a guy has that velo jump, it causes a lot of arm issues. And actually, I'm about to post a video about how velo jumps increase arm issues, but that's a whole nother top for another day. But Walker Buehler, man, he's unbelievable. I think your guys' starting rotation is really good, but you have to add to that bullpen depth.
Yeah, and you talk about velocity and like pitch and control and stuff. And I think another guy you have to look at on the Red Sox with this is Brian Bayo. The kid is young, but he did just come off the injured list after missing almost the first 2 months of the season. And his first start back, he looked pretty good. Like, he looked really good. But then, like, I went to the game against the Rangers conveniently for my senior day where they won 5-0. But watching him in person, dude, he looks rough. He looks rough. Like, he finds a strike zone like every other batter. So, like, do you think, though, Bayo will find that way back, considering his longevity and his age?
Yeah, I think his age plays a huge factor. But I think it's an arm that's going to be a guy. It's going to be how you can develop him. You know, he wasn't a guy that, again, he had a lot of excitement coming out of the minor leagues, but he wasn't that guy that was just like, okay, this guy, we're going to build our program around. Right, he's going to stick around the 4 or 5 starting rotation spot, but I think you could definitely develop him and create a great pitcher. Now, have you guys been known to just create these young prospects and turn them into game one guys? I don't know. I haven't seen that too much from the Red Sox. You guys, like you mentioned, you guys don't have just like a plethora of aces in your farm system, but I think it's definitely a guy you can develop, and you kind of just see where he goes. The walk ratio is a concern. His whip is about like a 1.5, 1.4, I think, which is kind of a concerning to me. You just don't want to allow free passes on the base pass, especially in the AL East, which is a very tough division.
Yeah, and I also want to talk about too, if you go back to like a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, the Red Sox used to take Tanner Houck out of the bullpen. Right. I loved that. I love that because Houck is really struggling this year.
Yeah, and he's a guy, correct me if I'm wrong, he just got put on the injured list, right? He had that flexor strain. Is that what happened?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just saw that. I don't know. Again, I'm not from the area. I'm not a reporter by any means or an analyst for the Red Sox. But I think when you look at Houck, he's kind of a guy who's kind of falling in between. I like Houck. I think he has a possibility to be an ace. I like him as a starting role. But again, I'm not hearing the murmurs and stuff like that from the Boston town.
Yeah, I get it. You're a Texas guy. You ain't got the murmurs down there. You guys have had a World Series since 2018. We've only had one playoff appearance since 2018. I get it. It's all right. But now let's transition to like the offensive side, like with the batting lineups and the stuff like that. And yeah, we have guys doing their thing. Like obviously you look at Jarren Duran, for example. He's batting 273. He only has 2 home runs this season, but he backs it up with the 16 RBIs and the 9 stolen bases. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the Clubhouse documentary on Netflix about the Boston Red Sox, but I'm sure you saw it all over social media talking about what happened with Jarren Duran. And this kid has one of the best stories, if not the best story in baseball.
Yeah, and I love him as a player. He's electric, right? I mean, he's a little bit of a mouth on him, which some people hate, some people love. I love it. I love an electric baseball player. I love a guy who's not afraid to show a little bit of emotion on the field. Again, I understand him. He goes over the top too much. But I've always thought that I'd rather have to bring a guy in than give him and say, hey, go get some energy, show me something. And you're not going to get a lack of energy from Jarren Duran. Love the way he plays the game. He's electric. He's fat. I mean, again, he only has 2 home runs, but the stolen bases, the pressure he puts on the base paths, I love it. I think he's a great guy to have at your top of the lineup to be able to allow the middle part of your order to really produce.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if you saw the clip. I'm sure you have. Did you see a couple weeks ago when he stole home before the pitch was even thrown?
Yep,
Like,
and stuff like that. It's electric. It's electric. That's a team. That's a team booster right there.
to quote the legendary Tom Cruise, Jaron Duran has the need for speed. Now let's get into, I'm going to throw it out there because I don't think it's crazy. Perhaps if Judge doesn't get it, the AL MVP and Alex Bregman. I mean, he's batting .331. He has 6 home runs and 23 RBIs right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt Alex Bregman's having an incredible season. I mean, there's a reason why he's been the player of the month already. But, I mean, it would take Aaron Judge needing to calm down a lot because Aaron Judge has been on an unbelievable streak. And then, I mean, he's doing some Josh Hamilton numbers from back in 2010, 2011. I mean, he's unbelievable. You kind of put Hamilton's numbers and Judge's numbers, they're pretty similar, which is terrifying. He's on an absolute tear. So, yes, Bregman is playing really well, but to compare him to Judge right now is somehow a crazy statement because of how well Judge is playing. But Bregman has absolutely been the man for you guys, and I'm so glad he's out of the AL West.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because you are a Rangers fan and Bregman was a Ranger killer. Now the other guy, yeah, he's a killer to like all teams he plays because just the way he can read the strike zone is incredible. But I also want to get to the other guy who I think is just as important, if not more important for the Red Sox. And that's Trevor Story. Obviously a native from Texas. So you love your Trevor Story and stuff. He's batting .271, has 5 homers and 16 RBIs. Now, the reason I say Trevor Story might be the most important player to this Red Sox lineup and offense is because of the fact that if you go back to last year, they started very hot when Trevor Story was playing. As soon as Trevor Story got hurt, what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. Trevor Story is again, he's kind of a guy who's been on the middle to bottom tier of your lineup, but I think the bottom of your lineup's your top of your lineup's only as good as the bottom half production is. And yeah, Trevor Story's my guy. Me and him went to the same physical therapist. We both did a athletic retraining together here when I got injured, and he was coming off his injury when he was transitioning from Colorado. So yeah, huge Trevor Story guy. I got to hang out with him a lot in training and everything like that. But dude's a physical specimen, man. You don't realize how big that guy is until you're talking with him and working out with him.
Also, he has such a banger walk-up song, by the way. Texas by Big X the Plug. Banger walk-up song.
Texas guy through and through.
Yeah, but I think you talked about the bottom of the lineup, right? I think a guy that you also have to look at who started the season really hot, has been very consistent all throughout, is Wilyer Abreu. He's batting .293 with 6 home runs and 21 RBIs. I don't know if you saw the highlight last night with him and Rafaela with what happened in that game. The ball literally hit off his glove when he went to rob it, and it ended in Rafaela's glove. First time I've ever seen that, by the way. But I think Abreu is just going to continue to evolve and showcase why he's one of the core pieces of this Boston Red Sox team.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a piece you guys can build around. And you guys have a couple of guys. You guys have a good mix of young guys and a good mix of veterans there who've been there before. So it's kind of a good mix to be able to feed off each other. It's just going to be a matter of consistency and winning close games for you guys. It's been, like you kind of touched on it earlier, it's about winning the close ones, right? Finding ways to get over that hump. And so far, you guys have been 50-50 with it, which is hard to make playoffs and make your World Series run if you're just 50-50 in close games.
Yeah, and I want to talk, before we get into our last player here, who's going to be a focal point of this conversation, because he's been a focal point of the league this year. Their upcoming schedule is very tough. They got the Braves, which that's a winnable series. That's a very winnable series for them. But then they face perhaps the favorite to win the World Series this year, the New York Mets. The Mets come to Fenway. That's going to be a heck of a series, but they have to get the bats moving, and the pitching has to deliver. Now, when I talk about bats moving, Nico, there was a guy, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about here, who I'm getting at here, started the season 0 for 21 with 15 strikeouts. That, of course, ladies and gentlemen, being Rafael Devers, who is batting .217, has 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. And I want to talk about Rafi a lot here, Nico, because there was a report I read the other day that just came out. John Henry, the owner of the Boston Red Sox, called Rafi into the office. Now I don't know about you, but when a coach or a head owner calls you into their office to talk about you, it's not good. Because obviously we saw what unfortunately happened to Tristan Casas, the torn patellar tendon on the way to first base. But I don't hate the idea of Rafi moving over to first. He's got that first base build. But what does he go out online and say? He says, and to the media, he says, they already switched me from my other position. I just want to play DH now. If you're playing for caliber baseball team, one of the most recognizable teams in all of baseball, the Boston Red Sox, and you're going out with that kind of attitude, that says a lot about you as a player and a lot about you of how you are in the locker room.
Yeah, and he's kind of been a cancer to the locker room ever since the arrival of Alex Bregman. He's becoming an issue. He's becoming an issue, and yes, he's a great offensive guy, but it's going to turn into a scenario where he's going to be a trade bait. He's going to be a guy that you guys use and try to get equity back in return for him. Because as of now, he just kind of, you don't want a guy like that in your locker room, especially when you have, Alex Bregman just got there, right? And now there's a little bit of argument, like, okay, now I don't want to play first either. That's a guy who's not a team guy. He's an eye guy. So we don't like eye guys. We don't like the meme monsters in the locker room. So it might be a guy that you guys have to trade away, but in return, with how good he has been playing, especially up to this point, now turning his average around 278, I think he's a guy that you could get a lot of return for.
That's the thing, and like that actually popped up on my social feed yesterday. Is that the Red Sox possibly could be exploring trade options at the deadline for Rafi? Now, let me ask you this: if they trade Rafi, how big does the trade have to be, and what do you think the Red Sox need most to get from that? Do they get another ace? Do they get a major marquee player? Because let's not forget, Rafi does have a huge contract that's a team's going to have to pick up if they trade him.
Yeah, it's going to take a team that has a lot of cap space. I haven't heard too much about it, again, just not being in that market. But I think a team that makes sense to me is if you guys did a trade with the Nationals. I think the Nationals, they need a third baseman. They have the cap space to be able to go out and get a guy and have a contract like Devers does. They have a lot of young talent, and they're right there on the brink. You have guys like, James Wood, Mackenzie Gore. Obviously, you have C.J. Abrams and Dylan Cruz, who hasn't been hitting all that well, but Dylan Cruz is one of the better college baseball hitters of all time. And so I think he's going to be a guy who's going to turn it around, and a lot of young core guys that could use that veteran in the locker room, which how great is Devers in the locker room? I don't know. But a team like that would make a lot of sense. Even the Dodgers. The Dodgers have had a lot of struggles at third baseman. Has Muncy the answer? They're definitely a market that can just spend more money than anybody else can. But to me, the first name that came to mind, which not be a sexy team to think about, is the Nationals, though. Their third baseman struggles have been some of the worst in the league. I think their defensive war at third base is some of the worst since 2020, since the departure of Anthony Rendon. So that's kind of the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah, I don't hate that idea at all. Another team I was thinking of was possibly the Rockies. Just get a bunch of prospects, like pitching prospects wise. The Rockies, in my eyes, just need a superstar to build around. And Rafi's kind of that guy that they could build around in their lineup. I also was thinking maybe Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh has a lot that you could work with. You could try to get maybe O'Neal Cruz out of that market, stuff like that. Get another bat for your lineup. But enough about the Red Sox talk. Let's talk about you guys. You guys being the Texas Rangers. This is the Ranger Roundup segment of the show. Nico, I'm a bit jealous because of how you guys have made Nathan Eovaldi look. You guys took our prodigical, whatever word I'm looking to say. You know what word I'm thinking of.
Right.
Prodigical. Yeah, that word. You took our prodigical son and turned him into a man.
Oh, prodigal. Go ahead.
And then just what you got going on with El Bombi, Aroldis Garcia, Corey Seager. Yeah, he's hurt right now, but he will be back. Marcus Semien, one of the best defensive second basemen in the league. Do you guys think you win 2 of the last 3?
I hope so. I hope so. I think, I mean, we're one of the more exciting teams, but our offense has been, I mean, horrible to start off the year. And if you've been following the Rangers at all, it's been an emotional roller coaster with our offense just can't get going. Our pitching staff is some of the best in the league, but our offense just can't get it going. It just haven't found their rhythm. And Corey Seager, it worries me a little bit because it's a lingering hamstring injury. It came back. So I hope we overrest him. Josh Smith has just been smoking the ball. Great defensive, great utility guy. I love me some Josh Smith. He's electric. I hope we get him into the All-Star game because his numbers prove it for himself, but we have to get the votes in. But I hope so. I think I love Nathan Eovaldi is one of my favorite pitchers, man. He's a dog. I mean, that fastball splitter he has, I mean, it works so well off each other. He's gross. So, but I love our entire pitching staff as well.
I agree with you. I think you said this the other day on TikTok when I was watching it, that the Rangers might have the best rotation in all of baseball. And from looking at it with the ERAs, the whips, the strikeouts, the innings pitched, I'd have to agree with you right now. They have one of the best rotations, if not the best rotation in all of baseball. Dude, I could right now, if the Rangers just get consistent and the offense gets rolling, I'm going to say they go as far as the ALCS right now.
Yeah, I believe it. There's nobody that really that scares me too much across the league, except for the Dodgers when they're healthy. There's a couple really good teams, but there's not a whole lot of teams that are in a 7-game series or a 5-game series early that really scare me too much. It's just gonna be our offense turning around. And so if we make the playoffs, obviously it's our offense turning it around. So I feel really good. I think DeGrom, Eovaldi, Molly, Jack Leiter, Kumar when he's healthy, John Gray when he gets healthy, Cody Bradford when he gets healthy, and then that's 7-8 guys. So you can move some of those guys to the pen, give our bullpen even more extra help, which they haven't really shown to need up to this point. But more depth in the pitching staff, especially in 7-game series, that's the difference in winning and losing.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's get into our next segment of the show here. This is going to be a bit of a funny one. Will the Reds sneak into the postseason? Now, why do I say this is funny? Well, because, Nico, if you've been watching baseball all year, they are the most hot and cold team I've ever seen. When I was at school, when they started the season, the Reds started at like 5-2, 5-3. Then all of a sudden, for 2 straight weeks, they go like 3-8. Then they go 9-3 again. It's like they're more back and forth than Rory McIlroy and Bryson DeChambeau were in the first 10 holes of the Masters this year. Right?
Yeah.
But looking at stats for the Reds, I mean, obviously you have to talk about who perhaps is one of, if not the future of the MLB when it comes to superstars. And of course, I'm talking about Ellie De La Cruz, who is just, when he gets hot, man, he is one of the most exciting players to watch. I mean, he's played in 29 games this season. He's batting .270, has 5 home runs, 24 RBIs, and 11 stolen bases already. And we're not even all the way through May yet, Nico.
Yeah, he's an electric player. He's a guy that he sells tickets. Guys are going to go to the field. Families are going to go to the field to go see Ellie De La Cruz play. I love it. 5-tool player. I mean, he's got the power, the speed, he's got it all. I mean, what more could you ask for? But again, it's going to be about consistency and about depth. The Central, I believe, is kind of up for grabs. I actually reached out, and I've been in conversation with the podcasters from Locked On Sports, Locked On Reds, Locked On Cubs, and guys like that, and just talking about the Central a little bit. It's kind of the Brewers division to win. I think they're standing, I think, 3rd right now over there in the Central. But the Reds are fun. And something that's really exciting for the Reds is their pitching staff and the future of that pitching staff. I mean, that's going to be one of the best. That's going to be probably the best pitching staff in the next few years. You have Lodolo, you have Hunter Green, then you have Chase Burns and Rhett Lauder, both coming out of the minor leagues. Chase Burns was my second favorite behind Jamie Arnold, who's a friend of mine. But Chase Burns was probably the second best college pitcher in all of college baseball last year. And then Rhett Lauder the year before. Him and Paul Skeens were the 2 best pitchers. So how do you let the Reds get both of those guys? I have no idea, but the future is bright over there in Cincinnati on the mound.
Yeah. So looking at it right now, the Cubs have sole possession of first place in the NL Central. They're 25-19. Bit of a surprise this year with the jump they had from last year. And the Reds are in 4th. They're 20-24. On a losing streak of 3. Like I said, most hot. Like, now watch. Next week, they'll be on a win streak of 3, right? they're 5 games back, and then you have the Pirates, who are the Pirates, down there in 5th. But yeah, man, I don't know. I don't know. I want to say they might grab that last wild card spot, but we're before the All-Star break right now. It's right after the All-Star break where we got to go. Like, everything has to fall into place. And if I'm the Reds at the trade deadline, I'm immediately targeting bullpen help. Immediately. And I'd also maybe target a couple of utility players that you need. Because the team right now, you can clearly tell, is built around Ellie. Now, I was talking to a friend of the podcast, Anthony Matos, who is a diehard Cincinnati Reds fan who came to Dean College. Don't ask why. I don't know. But he was even telling me, like, as much as he loves Ellie, the best case scenario that they might have to do is trade him away so they can get the money to spend to get their team better. And I don't disagree with that, but I don't agree with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know if Elio De La Cruz is the problem. I'm kind of surprised he said that because that's definitely a cornerstone that they're building around. But I think it's been the secondary guys, the Batman, and then to the Robin. I think the Robin has been underperforming in Matt McClain. I think Matt McClain's a guy who is they were so excited to get back this year, and he just hasn't performed well. I think he's hitting sub 200. Again, it's still early in the season, but that's a guy who, when the team is going to go as far as that guy goes, because Ellie De Cruz, he's consistent. That's the guy. That's why he's one of the top players in baseball. But it's about the guys behind him, guys in front of him. How are they going to be able to manufacture production or manufacture runs if other guys aren't getting it done? I think Matt McClain needs to turn it around for the Reds to kind of figure out and find their rhythm.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Swizz Sports Show with the DFW Sports Guy, a.k.a. Nico Sharp. Guys, make sure you go follow Nico on TikTok at the DFW Sports Guy. Got tons of great content coming out there, especially when it comes to talking about George Pickens and the Dallas Cowboys this season. He's going to be talking about the Stars because they're in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. They're looking in a very tight series right now.
Tonight, baby. Let's go.
And then, Longhorns football is coming up, so he's going to be talking about that too. Just a really exciting time to go over and check over the DFW Sports Guy over on TikTok. Make sure you subscribe to the channel over here on YouTube and follow us on TikTok at the Swizz Sports Show. Guys, with that being said, from Nico Sharp and Tyler Sumner, we will see you guys next time.